my story, but I can't tell you my name. I can't say where I live. If people knew, they'd run from me. They'd run from my child. So I whisper it here, in secret, hoping someone is listening. Because this isn't just a story. It's a warning. And maybe, if you hear me out, you'll understand why I can't stop searching. Why I can't stop believing Sohi, that there must be a way out. Because if I don't find one soon, it won't just be me who's lost. It'll be my baby too. My baby laughed that night. Her tiny giggles echoed through the room, soft and sweet, but strangely timed, like she was answering someone. She clapped her little hands, eyes fixed on the corner where nothing stood. I told myself it was nothing, just imagination, until she whispered in her soft baby voice, "Mama, look." And that's when my blood ran cold. I turned, heart racing. The corner was empty. Shadows stretched long on the wall, but there was nothing there. My baby reached out again, her fingers curling as if gripping someone's hand. Her smile widened. "More," she whispered, but the air was still, cold, and the silence felt wrong. I tried to distract her, picking up her stuffed rabbit from the floor, but before I could hand it over, it slid across the carpet on its own. My baby clapped, squealed, and said, "Thank you." My throat tightened. I didn't say a word. I didn't move, but something in the room did. She sat there, playing patty cake with the air, her little palms smacked together, pausing as if waiting for another set of hands to meet hers. And then, clap. The sound came back, a hollow, invisible clap, right in front of her face. I froze. My baby leaned in, as though someone knelt beside her. Her lips moved, whispering softly. I couldn't hear what she said, but then came the reply, a low murmur like a woman's voice, humming a lullaby I'd never taught her. My baby swayed gently, rocking to the tune. My chest tightened with terror. That's when I saw it. A flicker, a shape, a darker shade of black pulling free from the corner. It stretched tall, swaying, like a woman watching. My baby pointed at it and laughed. "Mama," she said, "she's here." But when I blinked, the shadow was gone. I rushed to the cradle, empty, still. Then it began to rock, slowly, gently, like a hand pressed it. My baby crawled over, clapping, squealing. More, more. The cradle rocked harder. My legs felt heavy, rooted to the ground. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. A chill wrapped around my neck. Not air, not draft. A touch. Cold fingers brushing my skin. I slapped at it, spun around, but there was nothing. Nothing but the faint sound of my baby's laughter and a soft hiss right at my ear. "Raise her well." I grabbed my baby, clutching her tight. Her laughter stopped instantly. She stared over my shoulder, eyes wide, mouth still smiling, but her gaze fixed on the ceiling. I didn't look. I couldn't. By the time I dared to move, the air had shifted. The rocking stopped. The shadow was gone, but the smell of river water lingered in the room. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat holding her, rocking back and forth, whispering prayers under my breath. My baby finally dozed off, smiling as if still dreaming of her invisible friend. And I knew then, this wasn't just play. My baby wasn't laughing at nothing. She wasn't clapping at the air. She was welcoming something, someone who had already claimed her. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, my baby shower. The room overflowed with love, friends laughing, music playing, balloons brushing the ceiling. I remember thinking, nothing could go wrong. But then the air changed. A chill swept across the room. The laughter dimmed like someone had pressed pause. That's when the door opened, and she walked in. She wasn't on the guest list. No one seemed to know her. Her dress was pale, almost gray, like it had been soaked in rain. But her smile, sharp and too wide, was aimed directly at me. I glanced around expecting someone to greet her, but my friends just stared, whispering nervously. Who was she? Why was she here? My stomach tightened, though I tried to smile. She moved slowly through the crowd, every step echoing louder than the music. My hands shook as I reached for a glass of juice, pretending not to notice her, but her eyes never left mine. Finally, she stood before me. Without a word, she placed a small box in my hands. It was wrapped in black paper, dark, wrinkled, almost damp. I had never seen a gift look alive. She leaned close, her breath cold against my ear. In a voice that sounded like it came from a well, she whispered, "For safe delivery." My skin crawled. My friends turned away as if they hadn't heard. I tried to thank her, but when I looked up, her smile had faded. Her eyes were hollow, staring deep into me, like she already knew something I didn't. And then, just like that, she was gone. No one saw her leave. No one admitted letting her in. The music returned, the laughter resumed, but my heart wouldn't stop pounding. I told myself it was nothing, just a stranger, just a gift. But when I looked down at the black paper in my hands, I felt the first sting of dread. My story truly began that day. The black paper was rough beneath my fingers, colder than it should have been. As I peeled back one corner, a strange heaviness pressed against my chest. I shouldn't have touched it, but I did. The moment I laid my hand on the box, the lights overhead flickered once, twice, like the entire house held its breath. Gasps rippled through the room. I tried to laugh it off. No one laughed back. The speaker in the corner hissed with static, the music cutting out mid-song. My friends fidgeted, their eyes darting between me and the strange gift. The silence grew heavier, thicker, like something was waiting. And then it hit me, a twisting pain deep in my stomach, sharp enough to steal my breath. I clutched at my belly, forcing a smile. "I'm fine," I whispered, but my body knew I wasn't. Chairs scraped. Someone asked if they should call a doctor. Another muttered a prayer under their breath. No one dared to touch the gift still sitting in my lap. It was as though the box itself was breathing. And just when the room began to panic, I heard her voice again, low, distant, almost inside my head. "Safe delivery," she repeated. Only this time, it didn't sound like a blessing. It sounded like a command. A sudden gush of warmth spread down my legs. I froze, horror creeping in as I realized what it meant. The floor beneath me darkened, and my friends gasped in unison. My water had broken, too soon, too violently. The party blurred into chaos, shouts, phones dialing, hands reaching to help me. But through the panic, I kept staring at the gift, still wrapped in its black skin. And then, just as someone bent to move it, the box was gone, vanished. No one saw it leave. No one saw her leave. Only I knew. It hadn't been a gift at all. It had been a claim. They rushed me to the hospital that night. My baby came early, crying, fragile, alive. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the end. That was only the beginning of her curse, the night she chose us. It hit me like a wave of knives. My belly clenched so hard I couldn't breathe. This wasn't labor. It was punishment. I clawed at the floor, praying for an ambulance that hadn't even been called yet. I should have been rushed to the hospital. Instead, I was collapsing on the living room rug. My screams bounced off the walls, drowned out by my friends shouting, panicking, crying. No one knew what to do. Through the blur of pain, I searched for her, the woman with the black gift, but she was gone, vanished, as though she had never been there at all. And yet, her presence clung to me, heavy as smoke. The contractions weren't normal. They came too fast, too violent, ripping through me with no space to breathe. My body convulsed, bending in ways it shouldn't. It felt like something was forcing its way out. My friends circled me, terrified. One dialed the emergency line, stammering into the phone. Another pressed a towel under me, her hand shaking. No one said it out loud, but we all knew. This wasn't human. Then, for one breath, the room went silent. No screams, no cries, just stillness. My body tightened, held captive. And in that pause, I felt it. The eyes of something unseen, watching, waiting. Pain tore through me, splitting me open. I thought I was dying. I wanted to die. The room spun, shadows stretching long across the walls, as though the house itself was bending with me. And then she came, my baby, but not gently, not fragile, not like a child entering the world. She ripped her way out, blood and silence and terror swallowing the room whole. Her cry broke the silence, sharp, piercing. Not the wail of a newborn, but the shriek of something older, something furious. It rattled the windows. It made the lights flicker again. I lay there bleeding, broken, half conscious. My baby, red, trembling, alive, was placed in my arms. Her eyes, wide open, too aware, too angry. And I knew, as her cry filled the room, this was not my daughter. This was my curse. Days passed after the birth, but the black wrapped gift sat untouched on the table. No one dared move it. It was like it was waiting for me, whispering my name every time I walked past. Inside was a small silver rattle. At first glance, ordinary. But the moment I touched it, the metal burned cold, so cold it stung. My stomach sank. This wasn't a gift. It was a warning. In the dim light, I noticed dark patches along the handle. My fingers smeared across them, sticky. Not rust, not paint. My heart pounded. It was dried blood. As I stared, the shadows in the room seemed to bend closer. The rattle felt heavier in my palm, like it belonged to someone else, someone who wanted it back. From the crib, my baby stirred. Not a soft coo, but a low, guttural whimper. Her tiny hands clawed at the air as if reaching for the rattle. My blood ran cold. I asked my friends later if anyone remembered the woman, the one who gave it to me. Blank faces, nervous glances. They swore she hadn't been there. They swore I was imagining it. No one claimed the gift. No one admitted to seeing her again. I was alone with it. Alone with the rattle that hummed faintly when I held it too long. At night, when the baby cried, the rattle shook by itself on the table. A faint chime like laughter trapped in silver. And always, always, the crying stopped the moment it rang. That's when I knew the woman hadn't blessed me. She had cursed me. And the rattle wasn't for comfort. It was an anchor, binding something ancient and hungry to my child. The first night home should have been warm, quiet, but the walls felt colder, heavier. Even the air clung to my skin. I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the cradle by my bed. My baby lay still, too still, as though she was listening for something. That's when I saw it. The cradle moved. Not a creak from the floorboards, not a draft. Rocking, steady, deliberate. At first, I thought it was my husband, but when I looked, he was sound asleep beside me. The shadow hovering over her wasn't his. It wasn't mine either. It loomed tall, bending over the cradle, arms swaying, fingers long and thin as reeds. I couldn't see a face, only the black outline. My baby whimpered, then stopped, not comforted, silenced, like something had taken her voice away in that moment. I blinked just once, and it was gone, the cradle still, the air thick with silence. I didn't breathe. I couldn't. I told myself it was nothing. Lack of sleep, too much fear. But deep down, I knew I hadn't imagined it. The shadow was real. In the morning, I told my husband. He laughed, said I was seeing things, said the baby was fine. But when I looked in her eyes, I swore they weren't just hers anymore. That night, I stayed awake, watching the cradle. I knew it would return. Shadows don't vanish. They wait. And this one was waiting for me. It started softly, a tiny hum in the middle of the night. I thought it was just baby noises, till the melody repeated, again and again. It wasn't random. It was a lullaby, an old song, but one I'd never sung. My baby was humming, in her sleep. Her lips moved. Tiny whispers followed the tune. Not English, not any language I knew. The syllables were thick, heavy, ancient. As she hummed, the room grew colder. My breath turned white. The shadows stretched long across the walls, as though listening. Then I heard it. Another voice, low, fragile, humming with her, a harmony that didn't belong to any living throat. I looked toward the corner of the room, empty, but the sound came from there, a lullaby sung by something I could not see. The humming stopped. Silence swallowed the air. My baby opened her eyes, wide, glassy, too knowing, and she smiled. I shook her awake. She blinked, confused, innocent. But the melody still clung to my ears. It wasn't gone. Not completely. In the morning, I told my husband. He laughed, said babies babble, said I was overtired. But I know the difference between babbling and singing. That night, when she drifted off again, I stayed awake, waiting, listening. And when the humming returned, the second voice whispered words I finally understood. She is not yours. At first, it was sweet. She giggled and clapped her hands as though someone was making her laugh, but no one was there. She held out her little hands, palms open, and they slapped together not by her own strength, but as though someone unseen was clapping back. Her rattle rolled across the floor. I thought it was a trick of gravity until her doll stood upright and toppled forward without being touched. Her teddy bear rose into the air. Slowly, gently, she laughed with delight. I screamed. My husband rushed in. By the time he looked, the toys were still, harmless. He said I imagined it, said I needed rest. But then I heard her say it again, soft, coaxing, more, as if giving instructions. And the toys obeyed. The doll dragged itself across the floor. The blocks stacked themselves into a tower. She clapped in delight. For the briefest moment, I saw it a hand, thin, wet, dripping water, guiding the toys like a puppeteer. That night I couldn't sleep, because it wasn't just my baby playing. Something was playing with her. The night was silent, too silent. Even my baby wasn't stirring. That silence woke me. I felt it before I saw it, the weight of someone's gaze pressing down on me in the dark. My eyes adjusted, and there she was, the woman from the baby shower, standing in the far corner of my bedroom. Her eyes weren't natural. They glowed faintly, a pale green like dying embers refusing to go out. Her lips curled back into a smile too wide, a smile that seemed to know every secret I had ever buried. Her voice slid through the darkness, low and sharp. Raise her well. She belongs to us. The moment she spoke, my baby shifted in the cradle, cooing, almost answering her. I blinked, and just like that, she was gone. No footsteps, no sound. The air was empty again. But the room wasn't the same. It was colder, heavy, as if she had left something behind. That's when I knew this wasn't just a haunting. My baby wasn't mine alone anymore. I carried my baby into the clinic, telling myself this was just routine, just a normal checkup. The nurse greeted me kindly, her voice soft, her hands gentle. She placed my baby on the scale, but then her face froze, her smile drained. She whispered, "Why won't it move?" She tried to press the baby down, tried to balance the weight, but her arms began to shake. Suddenly she screamed, said something was grabbing her wrists, holding her down. And then, right there in the room, the nurse fainted, her body hitting the floor with a thud. The doctor rushed in. One look at my baby and his face turned pale. He leaned close, his voice shaking as he said, "Don't ever bring her back here." I left the clinic in silence, my baby cooing happily in my arms, as if nothing had happened. That was the day I realized even medicine, even science, wanted nothing to do with her. One morning, I lifted the blanket in her crib and froze. Tiny pearls lay scattered where she slept. They shimmered in the light, small and perfect, but damp, wet, as if pulled fresh from the sea. When I picked one up, slime clung to my fingers, thick and salty. My stomach turned. I grabbed them, rushed to the trash and threw them away. I told myself it was nothing. But the next morning, more pearls, twice as many, glistening in her tiny fists. She laughed when I tried to take them. A laugh too knowing, too old. That's when I noticed the crib sheet, damp, a spreading stain of seawater. The room reeked of the ocean brine, fish, rotting seaweed, the smell of the deep. The pearls weren't gifts. They were offerings, payment, tribute. And I knew someone or something was leaving them for her. It started with a knock on my door. My neighbor's face was pale, her eyes bloodshot. She said, "Can you please do something? Your baby cries all night. None of us can sleep." But I shook my head. "She's quiet. She sleeps through the night." The neighbor's lips trembled. "Don't lie to me. I hear her screaming, wailing, every single night." That night, I sat by the crib watching her chest rise and fall, silent, peaceful, innocent. And yet, faintly I heard it. Not in the room, in the walls, a baby's sobs, thin and desperate. I pressed my ear to the plaster. The cries multiplied. Dozens of voices, babies wailing in the dark. My daughter stirred, her lips curled into a smile, as if the cries were a lullaby meant only for her. Another knock, another neighbor, this one furious. "Tell her to stop crying or I'll call the police." I closed the door slowly. My baby slept silently in her crib, but the crying never stopped. I couldn't live with silence anymore. I needed to know who she was. I asked neighbors, strangers, anyone who had been at the baby shower. No one remembered inviting her. No one remembered seeing her. I begged. I pleaded. Every answer was the same. Blank stares, shaking heads, silence. Finally, an old woman in the market whispered, "Ask the midwife. She will know." The midwife looked at me with fear. Her wrinkled hands trembled as I told her my story. When I described the woman, her face went pale. She whispered, "I have seen her before." "She is not a woman," the midwife said. "She is a river spirit, old, patient, hungry." The silver rattle, it was never a gift. It was a claim, a mark placed upon your child. The midwife leaned closer. "Spirits like her do not bless. They bargain, and the price is always blood." I walked home in silence. My baby smiled at me from her crib, and all I could see was the river's reflection in her eyes. My baby still laughs and plays with her invisible friend, but when I look closely, I see a shadow rocking her cradle, and I know the woman from that day never left. This is my story. I don't want pity. I don't want judgment. I only want a way out, because I am afraid one day my baby will stop calling me mama and start calling her instead. Mama, mama, love.